the one they select.
And you ain't just open, Bootsies. Now who takes care of your favorite tree?
It's a dog, doggone it, it's a dog.
And who's the biggest star on your TV?
It's a dog, doggone it, it's a dog. Who comes running when you call him man's best friend, you know?
Right, who keeps a keg of brandy handy when it's 40 below?
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Medfield College Film Society. My name is Jeff Crawford. I am joined by my esteemed society members. We will start over in the mountains, Western North Carolina. Mr. Andy Brown, fresh off a trip to Walt Disney World. He's here with us. How's it going, Andy?
I'm doing great, Jeff. Yeah, I took a trip to the parks. Just me and the old wife. No kids. For all our listeners out there who are in that situation, I highly recommend it. Oh, and I discovered a new favorite drink, the Pina Colada, which is it's their turn on the Pina Colada, of course, and it's delicious. I don't care if it's a fruity drink. I'm a big guy, and I don't care. I like it. It tastes
right
great.
on, man.
Okay, we had just a few weeks ago, we had some back scratchers over there at the Polynesian. Those are good too.
Yeah.
Andy, you found some references that you might not have ever seen before while you were down there.
That's true. We were at Epcot, and I had never done the Figment ride. I didn't even know who Figment was. I asked my wife, I was like, "What's this purple dragon, and why is he everywhere?" And she's like, "We got to do this ride." And so we did the ride, and then there was references to all these Medfield references. I was like, "Hey, I know who that is. I know who." All this absent-minded professor things, all the names. Even though it's from the Robin Williams movie, which I still have not seen, I still knew the references. So that was nice.
Someday, maybe Robert will bless us with watching that one. Yeah.
I think a lot of the names, though, are from, like, the original, because I don't think those make it into the remake. They do reference the remake, but I think Dean Higgins is only in, like, Computer Wore Tennis Shoes and that.
But there's a Philip Brainerd, I think, instead of a Ned.
Yeah.
There's also a sweet. Yes. I think there's like a lab or something I think you can see through into, and there was a sweet looking Medfield College like Letterman's coat.
Yeah,
that's true.
And I was like, "Ooh, that's nice. You need to get that to the Medfield
sell
store."
Those, man. Yeah.
All right, the native son down there these days is Michael Crawford, my brother. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I'm the only person on this podcast who hasn't been to the Disney parks in the last month. And I actually live here.
That's true. Yeah.
That's ironic.
Yeah, we've all been down there.
Yeah, everybody's been down here, which has been fun to watch. So I'm doing great. Even as we slip into summertime here in sunny Florida.
Yeah, well, we will toss it now to our El Presidente, who wins the Triple Crown. He got to do a water park. He got to do the cruise, and he had the shortest stop of all time at Disney Springs on a work trip. Robert McSwain, trying to outdo us all, as always. How you doing?
I've been logging a lot of miles through Florida the last 3 weeks. So.
How do you find Florida these days, Robert?
Mm-hmm.
Really nice
What's
place. How do you find Florida these days? How's it getting along?
Well, the warehouse scene in Lakeland's amazing. If you've never been down to Lakeland and checked out the warehouse scene,
sure it is.
It's something else. So I highly recommend it.
I hang out at Davenport a lot. Not a lot of people know about it, but it's pretty swinging.
Robert was at Disney Springs, and he texted me while I was in one of the parks, and we were staying at Saratoga Springs, and he's like, "Hey, can I come over and use your bathroom?"
I was serious. I was ready to get over there.
Yeah, and Robert was at Typhoon Lagoon. I was at Disney Springs. We're just all moving around, man.
We're
right
just
across
getting
the street,
stones
pretty
of
much.
each
Yeah.
other.
Sliding doors.
Closer and closer to the live podcast on property, which will happen someday.
Oh man, yeah.
But in lieu of that, tonight I am so excited. We're winding down in season 3. This one I have had marked on my calendar for quite some time. Michael, what are we watching?
Well, tonight we're watching a film that is deceptively important in the Disney canon of films. It's 1959's The Shaggy Dog, directed by Charles Barton, written by Bill Walsh and Lily Hayward, suggested by the novel The Hound of Florence by Felix Salten, who wrote Bambi, incidentally.
Wow.
This movie's got Fred MacMurray, the original Disney legend, as Wilson Daniels. This was his first Disney film. We've got Jean Hagen, Lena Lamont herself as Frida Daniels, Tommy Kirk as Wilby Daniels. We've also got this is packed. We got Annette Funicello, Tim Considine, Moochie, not to mention Cecil Kellaway and Roberta Shore as the femme fatale, sort of. We've got, typical Disney talent behind the camera, but this time we got special titles. Got special titles by Tee, Bill Justice, and Ex Atencio, who they love the stop motion stuff. So they brought it with the stop motion.
They were not going to stop there. They were just going to keep going. It became their trademark for a while.
Yeah.
This was the first of these movies that we have watched so many of, these wacky Disney live action comedies. This was the real beginning of it and set a lot of trends, a lot of the things that we know and love on this podcast.
Yeah, this is where it all began, really. And especially in relation to some of the other movies we've talked about, this is one Walt had wanted to make. Or I don't know if he'd wanted to make it, but he'd had the rights for a long time. Before Bambi came out, Walt bought the rights to 5 more of Felix Salten's stories, including Bambi's Children, which Jeff and I have discussed on Twitter. Bambi's Children, Perry, which was also eventually made into a live-action thing.
That's also on Disney+.
Also on Disney+.
Yeah.
Rennie, which I assume is related to Perry, but I don't know. Something called City Jungle, and The Hound of Florence, which this is based on. Walt had originally pitched this to ABC as a TV show.
Yeah.
They had wanted he had done Mickey Mouse Club for them, done Zorro for them. They wanted more, but he didn't always see eye to eye with ABC. They were kind of stingy, and they turned him down when he brought him this Shaggy Dog TV show. And he was so mad, he basically came back to the studio and said, well, I'll show them, make it into a movie. So brought in director Charles Barton, who had directed Spin and Marty shorts for the Mickey Mouse Club with Tim Considine. And they made this film, and it was important. It was the first live action comedy that Disney ever did. It was a low budget film. It was black and white, which was rare for Disney movies. And it was an enormous hit. Grossed $9 million on its first release, which was a lot back then. And it basically changed the studio's entire production strategy. This was the second highest grossing movie of 1959. Came in second behind Ben-Hur. But Ben-Hur was so expensive, Shaggy Dog was more profitable than Ben-Hur.
Yeah.
Wow, my mom would be fascinated to find that out. She's a huge Ben-Hur fan. That's no
Ben-Hur is better. So yeah, this was not only a big moneymaker, but when you compare against the other movies that Disney put out that year, which were kind of like prestige movies, one of which we have done, Darby O'Gill and the Little People. When we talked about that one, we talked about how invested Walt had been in it and had done, research trips to Ireland, things like that. And it didn't really do so hot at the box office. The same with the other 1959 film they put out, Third Man on the Mountain, which was a very expensive film filmed in Switzerland on the Matterhorn. And, a real prestige-y kind of movie, and it didn't make that much money. But then they put out this low-budget movie that made a ton of money. And so we see the shadow of that goes all the way, through Absent-Minded Professor and all the Medfield stuff. And, you see after a couple of decades it started to run out of steam. We wind up with $1 Million Duck and things like that. But yeah, this is where it all began.
Yeah, I mean, Walt was really into those kind of prestige-y, like, I don't know. Yeah, we've got to do Third Man on the Mountain sometime because it's incredible.
Yeah.
But a lot of those kind of, there's a lot of serious movies in the 50s. And they have a lot of heart and they're great. And I like a lot of them, but they're very serious. And this really tore all that up. I mean, there's a lot of great ones, like, you know.
Yeah, I feel like this genre, just the silly genre that this is what everyone thinks of and remembers. But, yeah, you're right.
Oh, for sure. They don't remember all the Third Man on the Mountain. They remember this. I'd say probably the only like real serious Disney movie they gets remembered is 20,000 Leagues, and I guess Swiss Family Robinson would qualify under the Prestige banner too. But
it's kind of wacky.
It's wacky.
It has its moments. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's kind of almost like Fantasia. It's like Walt was into this other stuff, but then he saw which way the wind blew. I was like, well, if the people want that, then I'll give them that. And he kind of checked out of the movie stuff at around this point anyway.
Yeah.
Started messing around with theme parks. So he was just like, whatever, do the stuff that makes the money so I can build more theme parks.
He's actually building a Matterhorn now and filming a movie about it. So.
Yeah, right. Got to pay for it.
Well, Andy, had you ever seen this one before?
I had not. I remember the commercials for the Tim Allen one.
I was going to say, have you seen the Tim Allen one?
Yeah, but I didn't know that was a remake until you guys talked about it. And so I was like, oh, okay, we're going to go back and see the original. Guys, I understand why people loved this movie. I enjoyed this film. I thought it was well done.
We're back on track.
I have problems with certain aspects of it, but then it takes a turn about near the end of the second act that I did not see coming, and I think that really made the movie better.
Yeah,
sure. I was wondering about that. I thought that you were going to eat some of that up.
Yeah, I thought Tommy Kirk is really just fantastic. I think he's just so good to be so young. And just his body of work in this, just the limited amount that I've seen just by doing this podcast. I'm a Tommy Kirk fan.
Yeah, he's
right on. Me too. There are so many moments in this movie where he just does a take reacting to something, and I'm like, that's so good. He's so good. I really hate he passed before we had a chance to talk to him, because I just hope he realized like how people are like into his stuff still.
Right.
Yeah, I did. So I knew that Annette was a Mouseketeer, and I knew Moochie was a Mouseketeer. But from what I can tell, like the guy that played Buzz, was he a Mouseketeer?
No, he was on Spin and Marty, which was like a serial that they would run during Mickey Mouse Club. So he wasn't like really a member of the club, but he was on the show.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And he was in a bunch of stuff during this era.
And he had a haircut you could set your clock to.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yeah.
You could land a plane on that haircut.
That guy is full of that guy moments in this one.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. This is like, as you just said, Michael, this leads to the trajectory of $1 Million Duck, but this is such a distilled one, it's just all, and it's a little bit more low key in some ways than some stuff that would come later. So I guess with that said, we should get into it. Anybody else have anything to say before we really get going here? Guess not.
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, Michael, we'll throw it to you. Take us into the world of the Shaggy Dog.
He was the shaggiest dog. He was the shaggiest dog. He was the spookiest dog I ever did see. Go on, get out of here. Go on. Get.
Well, we start off with some musical credits. We've got, I mentioned before, the fellas behind the stop motion animation, but we've also got a song by our old pal Hazel Gill George, aka Walt's nurse, and Paul Smith, the ever-present Paul Smith. And man, this is a wacky one.
Yeah, I don't think this is their best outing. And I love both of them and think they do amazing work. But this is,
But some of the other stuff they've done.
well, she did Old Yeller. He did almost everything. I mean, he did Bambi through all the True Life Adventures,
Oh,
20,000
right.
Leagues Under the Sea. I mean, she did a ton of stuff too.
Ike for president. Ike for president.
Right. I have a question though. Well, first of all, okay, 2 questions for the movie people, and then I'll take my answer off the air. First question: how did they do credits back in the day? Second question: how, like, when I was watching it on Disney Plus, it looked like it had all been done by CGI, and what's up with that?
Yeah, right? It was weird. It was
Yeah.
like too clear. It was
So
weird.
was that not redone? Is that the original?
I'm sure it was the original.
I think it was the original.
So they shoot
I-
it on panes of glass over the movie. How do they do that? How do they
I
do
think
credits?
so. Oh,
Well,
like just in general.
Yeah, like back before you could do.
Well, there were
I-
several systems they had. Like they had like sort of this weird slide projection thing that they would use.
Mhm.
You may see like the Monty Python stuff. They would use it a lot, but use it more comically. But then I think they would do paint. I mean, they would paint it over glass and project.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Like
What
design.
about in those like old movie previews where they're just like moving around like? Whoosh.
Yeah, I've wondered that too. I mean,
Those are
just some
crazy.
sort of like photographic,
Yeah,
like process shot.
sorry,
I don't know enough about it. It's
meant to
something I've wondered about too.
Yeah.
Well, and when you see like really old movies from like the 20s and 30s, it's clear that they've painted it on kind of like a roller kind of
Right,
thing.
right.
And are just kind of like rolling it out.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting question. But yeah, I wondered too, because the credits themselves are animated. Like we get Fred MacMurray do the stop it, job, get away from me. And his reacts to the dog. And so there's an element of that.
Yes, it's a little sound snippet from that. It's interesting.
Yes. Little hint at the characters to come.
Mhm.
Also, this song, I don't know who, I was sad they didn't list who sang it.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure it was some like studio chorus or something, but it's, I don't know, what would you even call this? It is very of its era, this vocal.
Yes.
It's
I mean,
the
that's-
shaggiest dog.
Yeah. It reminded me of the Patty Duke song.
Yeah.
They laugh alike, they talk alike, sometimes they even whatever. You could, yeah, it's very wacky. Like I said, I'm giving this one a C minus for this team to come up with it. It's no Parent Trap, that's why I kept thinking about the Parent Trap. It's like, man, the Shermans really knocked that one out of the park.
Yeah, they bring it up a notch. Yeah. So anyway, we get a dog cutting capers. It gets zanier as it goes. The dog's like in costumes and stuff. It's really silly. Until we finally get to the movie. We start at the studio backlot, good old backlot. And Paul Frees doing a voiceover. He gives us a little intro here. He says, this is a Shaggy Dog story, and it could have happened anywhere and to anyone. But it just so happened.
Like, what is a Shaggy Dog story? Is that like
it's
broader
like,
than
like something that happens all the time or
Yeah.
something.
It's
This is
kind of
just
like
another Shaggy Dog story.
like a just a high. What am I trying to say? Just a tall tale.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. The Shaggy Dog story.
That's just another Shaggy Dog story. Get out of here.
Get out of here with your Shaggy Dog stories. And I caught a fish this big. Anyway, this Shaggy Dog story could have happened anywhere to anyone, but it happened to Wilson Daniels. And so we meet Fred MacMurray as Wilson, a man who loved people but hated dogs.
Seems like an odd thing to grind an axe over. Like
Yeah,
dog-
you don't see
hating
that very
dogs.
often.
Yeah.
I'm sure
You
people
don't
do
get
that.
the dog hate. I find it interesting we're introduced to Fred MacMurray as like he's the protagonist of the movie.
Okay, see, that's one of the issues I had. I was like, okay, this is about Fred MacMurray. Okay. And
Yeah.
then it wasn't. And I was like,
It's really weird. Well, because I mean, he was a big star. So I can see maybe why. And when you look at the ads for the movie, it's just like Fred MacMurray, like, whoa, like making various angry faces. So I guess that's what they just went with. But it is weird. Anyway, Wilson sees a dog in his front yard and does a very Wilson, get out of here.
My garbage.
There's
He
several,
goes back-
several moments of that.
Yeah. He goes back inside. His wife, Jean Hagen, as Frida Daniels, she awaits. Wilson checks out the daily paper. He's mad. He's mad that a heroic dog has been given a medal for pulling a baby out of a burning building.
So
Again.
heavy-handed.
Yeah.
That stupid dog doesn't get an award.
What is it? Big deal.
We got to give a shout out to the wife coffee service because that's like a
Yep.
meme in these movies.
Oh, yeah.
I saw it. I was like, I applauded when I saw it.
yeah. And Jean Hagen, Andy Griffith's show. She was the lady speeder.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, she was all over the place. She's she was a name actress. Yeah, he goes on for a while. He starts going on about how much he hates dogs, but Frida says, most people love dogs. He says, I suppose I'm some kind of freak because I don't.
Yeah, you are actually.
Yeah, pretty much. She points out he's a mailman, and she thinks dogs just don't like mailmen because sometimes they bring bad news. And he starts going on about how I've been in the mail service for 20 years. Nothing stopped him from his appointed rounds, but those blasted dogs tried. So eventually he asks where the boys are, and Frida says they're in the basement tinkering. She says they're working on something called an Issel interceptor because women be dumb.
Oh, God.
And Wilson says, well, it must be a missile interceptor. So he starts going on a riff about how he needs to take a firm hand with Wilby because Wilby's been
What is the
getting
deal
them in
with-
messes.
Yeah.
This is the first indication of I was like, I don't know if I like this actor or not the character.
Yeah.
Because the way he says it, because he's like, if you're not going to take a free hand with him, then I've got to do something about it. And it's like, I don't know, just the way he phrased it. It was this kind of this. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, he drags Wilby the entire movie. Just drags him.
Absolutely. Yes.
And
For
and
very little reason explained.
right.
Yeah.
There's some backstory. Apparently, Wilby called the police on the dean of the divinity school. Got him thrown in jail as a
Yeah.
public
Love that.
enemy because he looked like a picture in the post office. But to which I say, the police arrested him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, he called him, but they arrested him.
Well, clearly
So
there's a
that's on
police
them.
problem in this town that we will get to.
That's true.
There's a
That's-
major
Yeah, there's
law enforcement problem going on.
But yeah, this movie, one of its flaws for me is like everybody just ditches on poor Wilby. And
Yeah.
that ain't right. So he starts going on. He's going to give a little exposition about what he's going to do about Wilby before he realizes what was said earlier about the missile interceptor. And immediately an explosion rocks the house. Everything is vibrating and falling over. Kind of like Mary Poppins when Admiral
Yeah,
Boone-
that's what I thought of too. It's
It
kind
was
of a
pretty-
funnier. It's like a fun house effect. Like
Yeah.
the chairs are kind of hobbling around, but
That was well done.
yeah, I thought so too.
Everything shaking like that.
Yeah.
That was really well done.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I guess they had to have it on some kind of gimbal or something. I don't know. It's weird. We cut to the basement where Wilby, aka Tommy Kirk, and Moochie, aka Moochie, are panicking because they've made like a V2 rocket in their basement, and it's starting to smoke and fume. This is not like this is like a real rocket.
Yeah. So what? I mean, now I'm dragging Wilby, but what do you think was going to happen here?
Yeah, what's the exit strategy? I wonder that as well. They do have a line where like Moochie's like, switch it off. He's like, well, I didn't even turn it on. So hopefully that
I
means
see.
he.
Yeah, that's right.
But still, not the best place to be building your missile
Right.
interceptor.
Right.
Wilby's trying to get it to stop, but eventually he's like, it's too late because it's like blasting. So he sends Moochie to clear their parents from the house. They grab whatever they can. Frida grabs her like china. And she's like, well, get something. So Wilson gets the coffee pot, which I don't know is a funny visual to me. So they head out
the
to
coffee.
Yard. Hey, get my coffee.
Oh, the coffee, don't spill it.
Don't spill the coffee.
They all wind up out in the yard. There's an explosion and a rocket blast through the house and out the ceiling, which was a great effect, by the way.
Yeah.
Really good. You can see it on the first floor, the second floor, and then comes out the roof. And then it cuts away to some like sounding rocket footage, which is funny. We'll be super excited. It says, we've officially entered the rocket age, Pop. He's like, I wish I could be up there riding it. And then he realizes Wilson's reaction. He kind of loses his excitement. Says, I wish I was on it right now.
So, okay, again, this is the low point for Wilby. But
Yes.
it's like, read the room, man. You just shot a rocket through the house.
And he's so excited it worked. Yeah, this is like proving to us, this kid's got his head in the clouds. He's a fuzz head or whatever they call him later, he's a fuzzy-headed kid, I guess. Frida has to stop Wilson from clocking Wilby with the coffee pot, and he just takes a cup from her and pours himself a cup of coffee as they watch. Later, Wilby and Moochie are up fixing the roof, which was apparently a thing that you could have kids do.
So say Moochie on the roof. I mean, that's a bad idea.
Moochie
all the
was
way
like
around.
tied to the chimney, which I enjoyed.
I think
That's right.
I think Wilson pouring himself that cup of coffee was the last thing he did for himself for the rest of the movie.
Oh, for sure.
Because he puts the boys up on the roof, and then as we'll see many other times later, he's like gets someone else to do everything for him.
Right.
That's a
His
good point.
vibe. His vibe.
Yeah, so Wilson pops up through the hole in the roof. Says he wants Wilby to clean out his workshop in the basement. He's got animals and chemicals and all this stuff. Get it out of there. Well, they're like, well, how did you get up here? And he's like, I'm standing on cardboard boxes. And so, of course, we have to get a pratfall, and he does a noble but sadly sub Dean Jones. Whoa!
Yeah. Nobody's going to
Before
touch
he
the goat
falls
on that.
Into an avalanche of Foley. Yeah, no Dean Jones. He on the fall.
Right.
Foley. Down the street, we see a hot rod pulling up to a house, and this is quite a hot rod, let me tell you.
This was a big Wilson moment of they're fixing the roof. It's like, get off the roof. It's like, well,
Yeah.
they're fixing. Get off the roof. Come on down from there.
You'll
Quit
fall
fixing
into
the
flowers. But that's what he was worried about, them falling into the flowers.
Yeah, because they'd mess up the flowers.
You mess up
You're
the
gonna mess up
flowers.
the flowers.
Yep.
Oh man, there's only one person that's going to get this stuff. Continue.
Too bad.
I won't listen to that. So we got this hot rod. This is a sweet hot rod. He's got like pinstriping on it.
That's a ZZ Top hot rod right there.
Yeah, it is. This
LaGrange
is
all the way.
this is
Had a weird
Buzz.
fender set up on the rear, but that's a whole other conversation.
That's our other podcast.
That's another podcast.
Talking hot rods, Disney hot rods. Buzz with his buzz cut, and Annette comes out. She's ready for a game of tennis. They're both in their tennis whites, and I do mean white. Wilby, who is clearly into Annette, aka Allison, shouts, "Hi, Allison!" before just absentmindedly walking off the roof, and he does in fact fall into the flowers.
Quick question: was this Annette's first movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, first for her and first Disney one for Fred MacMurray.
Okay.
So Buzz says, well, that's old knothead for you, always showing off. Buzz is a tool, as we learn throughout this entire movie.
Yeah.
My fond memory, I guess I just always thought Tim Considine was so cool that I excused it, but Buzz, not a good guy, really. Wilby walks over and pulls Buzz aside. There's a lot of pulling aside in this movie, I noticed as well.
Yes.
Can I
Yes.
speak to you over here?
Sidebar.
Can I speak to you away from the women folk? There's a lot of that. Pulls Buzz aside and asks him to repay the $7, which Buzz owes Wilby. Buzz like, I've got a date with Allison. But Wilby's like, but I'd like to take Allison on a date myself, which Buzz scoffs at. It's like, well, you? No way. Ask Wilby if he's ever taken anyone out. It's nonsense to even suggest it. Just then, a car and a moving truck come down the street. In the car is a man, a shaggy dog, and a very fashionable girl. Buzz and Wilby are shook. They are enraptured as this girl gets out of the car.
This car, though, is not just a car.
What is this car?
That is a Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Roadster, which is runs for around $2 million nowadays.
Whoa.
Jeez.
I mean, I saw that car, my jaw hit the ground. That's a very rare car.
Don't you park that car there? Professor's doing all right for himself, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of money in curating museums, evidently. But
Well, you know.
That is fascinating. I wonder what happened to that car, man. It's big money. So maybe Buzz and Wilby were shook by the car and not by the girl. Could be.
Some gearheads.
Yeah.
Geeking out.
She gets out of the car and she starts really performatively speaking French to her dog, whose name is Chiffon. Really, she is trolling these guys hard. Allison, unamused. Down the street, Frida's watching out the window with binoculars, as women do, until Wilson stops her. She gives a sort of info dump. Says the new guy is Mikhail Andresi, the new assistant curator at the county museum. She gives a gossip rundown about him with his past, what happened to him. After the war, he was in a prison camp, which I thought was a dark detail to share.
I did too. I was like, oh. I was like, that's interesting. I don't know this backstory here.
Yeah. She says he's got a 17-year-old daughter. Wilson takes a look out through the binoculars, which are out of focus. He says, how dare they bring a camel into this neighborhood? Which, yeah, finally realizes it's a dog. And that makes him even more mad. He starts getting itchy, says I'll have to move into the back bedroom. And these old Pekingese wounds on my ankle are throbbing like bongo drums.
Is he having PTSD from a war episode or something for a dog?
He's the mailman, man.
Mailman.
Every day.
That's right.
Delivering the
mail.
every day.
I thought camel was some sort of derogatory term for the guy.
No. I wouldn't be surprised.
Those frogs brought a camel into the neighborhood.
Yeah. I was like,
Who brought the camel here?
Outside, the sheepdog runs across the street to Wilby and hops up on him. The sheepdog loves Wilby.
That dog.
It's an enormous dog. Buzz is obsessing over the girl while Wilby, like a normal, is like, oh, look at the cute dog. Buzz is like, I'm going to pretend to care about the dog so I can take it back to the girl. And Wilby follows along. This gets Allison real mad. She gets out of her car and heads inside with a harumph and a slammed door. Buzz and Wilby are greeted by the stern and sturdy butler, Stefano. Stefano reminds me of two people. First, because we get a lot of reaction shots from Stefano throughout the movie. First was Chris Christie, former governor of New Jersey.
Check.
Man, yes.
Second
That's
is
good.
Francis Buxton from
Yes,
Pee-wee's
of
Big
course.
Adventure.
Oh,
Because he's got a
Yes.
sort of Francis sneer, as we see later in the movie. But at first I was like, oh, it's Chris Christie as Stefano.
It was so Chris Christie. Wow.
The girl shows up. She starts speaking French to everyone in an extremely pretentious manner.
Yeah.
Like, I just met you, so I'm going to speak French. Why would you do that? Buzz and Wilby give a go at explaining what happened to the dog in caveman talk. Like, we bring dog you. We do. Like, Tommy Kirk's like, we do this thing. Professor Andresi comes out, and Francesca, who's the girl, she says, well, Chiffon ran away. And these two nice Indian boys brought him back. Which is, quite a joke. Everyone has a laugh. Everyone's like, ha ha. And
Indians.
Professor says that, well, Francesca speaks 7 languages. Everybody gets introduced. Wilby is clearly smitten with Francesca. He is crushing hard for some reason. They all go inside, and Buzz admires all the stuff. Like, nice stuff. Before Francesca starts humble bragging about all their artifacts. Wilby also almost knocks a 16th century vase off a really precarious piece of furniture. I don't know why you put a 16th century vase on this thing.
I would definitely knock that thing over.
It's like 5 or 6 feet tall. Just, I don't even know what you would call that. Like a little podium, narrow thing. Anyway, Francesca mentions the vase. Oh, this costs about $3,000 or $4,000. Which gasp. But when she says that, Tommy Kirk does a great take of really funny reactions to all this stuff. Anyway, Francesca keeps going on about the Tintorettos and El Grecos, and while she's talking, the sheepdog is obsessing over Wilby, like wrestles him to the couch.
Dog.
Oh,
Dog is,
I just wish I could have seen like the on-set like mechanics of it, of like this dog just totally like.
What was the dog's name? I can roll out.
Tommy Kirk.
Sam was his name. Yeah.
All right, Sam, go over there and get on it. Go get him.
Get him
Get
good.
him, Sam.
Sam looked like the kind of dog that's like a crotch sniffing dog, where he just kind of comes out like, and you're like, all right, Sam, easy, buddy.
Back down, Sam. You're always trying to push him away, but he's so big.
They were
Sam. Easy.
I was reading this stuff about for something else, and was just came across this interview for this guy who
This is great. Oh yeah,
work
this is
on the Shaggy
amazing.
Dog, and it was incredible. The guy was like talking about Sam, and he was like, "We had 2 other dogs, and they had different color, and so we just painted them. It was non-toxic, it was water-based paint, but." Eventually their fur started to fall out, so we had to use Sam for the whole thing. But it was great because he was perfect.
Oh, that's great.
Oops, it was glue.
But
this is lead paint.
I was
good, though.
shocked how much stuff that I thought was surely a person was actually the dog. At least, mostly the dog. Sometimes they would do hands for the dog, but most of it was the dog.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
Especially when we get around to doing Shaggy DA, the comparison between the two.
Yeah. Yeah.
This dog did some business, bits of business in this movie.
Yeah.
A real champ.
Can't wait to hear Robert's full review of it.
Same.
I can't wait.
I was thinking that as we went. So anyway, he's wrestling with the dog, and Buzz notices a portrait, which Francesca says is Lucretia Borgia, and Buzz doesn't know anything about the Borgias, so Francesca gives some brief exposition about how they were notorious in the Dark Ages and dabbled in black magic. Apparently, everybody's super into black magic we run into in this movie.
Yes.
Like, oh, it's black magic,
And casual knowledge of black magic. I would really want to know. This is like the portrait in Blackbeard's Ghost. I want to know who at the studio drew this. So bad.
Yes.
The dog's freaky though in that painting.
Oh, freaky.
I mean,
so freaky.
As Brian Fellows would say, that dog has devil eyes.
I'm Brian Fellows. This dog. Well, Wilby notices the dog in the painting is the same breed as Chiffon. Francesca says, it's this rare breed. They're practically extinct. Poor Chiffon, blah, blah, blah. The professor asks Francesca to take some stuff to the museum, and Buzz and Wilby offer to take her. Buzz clearly wants to take her himself and gives Wilby the business about coming along, but Wilby comes along anyway. At the museum, Buzz is bragging about how he spends a lot of time there studying the arts. Francesca is being pretentious again, and Wilby goes off to look at some Egyptian stuff. He's like, I'm more into this kind of thing.
But Wilby burns Buzz really well. He says, is that why you got lost on the way here?
Yeah, that's right.
I was like, that's nice.
It's like, there you go, man. Fight back. Wilby wanders off, but Buzz takes Francesca and they bail, which is a jerk move.
The problem is, Wilby is he operates in Buzz's shadow. He stays too close to his orbit. We see that throughout the movie. It's like, dude, separate from Buzz. Buzz is an idiot.
Clearly. Yes.
Like,
and always going to get you in trouble.
Yes.
Yeah, Wilby's drawn to toxic people, apparently, as we see throughout the film. Wilby is.
He's looking for a new father figure that's also toxic.
That's true.
Agreed.
That's true. Yeah, they bail. Wilby's looking for him and somehow wanders into the Mystery Funhouse or something. Seriously, this museum has a wing that's like the Ripley's Believe It or Not London Tower Torture Museum for some reason.
All low lit. Like
Yes.
all terrifying low lit.
I got the Spaceship Earth vibes.
I got
If it
that.
was
Put that in my
about
notes
torture.
too. There's a little bit of a Spaceship Earth vibe going on here.
Spaceship Earth Halloween Horror Night.
Yeah, the Halloween night.
Would have been great. Mickey's
This
not so
year, we'd
scary.
like to announce our Halloween overlay. Since the Magic Kingdom is not so scary, we're going to make Epcot super scary.
the Goofy's very
We're going to
scary.
project a pumpkin on the bottle.
The ball's got like blood dripping down. That's what she
Yeah. Pumpkin on Spaceship Earth, and you go inside, and it's all about torture and poisoning and stuff. These figures, this like
Shaggy Dog.
made me nervous when I was a kid. Like,
Oh yeah.
because this is like these figures are all really eerie looking. It's unsettling.
It's completely unsettling. Yes.
There's like these tableaus of like torture and
What kind of exhibit is this?
I don't know. Because it's like not like all one thing. It's all like different kinds of things. Sorry, excuse me. So yeah, Wilby is like about to leave when he notices a figure move. And there's this like spooky witch kind of thing that is drinking from a chalice and its arm moves.
Which is amazing.
I don't know what
movement.
just the moment of zen of that figure in general, and that arm just. He goes up to it, and Professor Plumcut jumps out from behind the statue to scare him. Says he's getting the exhibit ready. Wilby shouldn't be in there. Says, but he knows Wilby. Wilby used to deliver his paper. He hasn't been getting his paper lately, and that's because Wilby quit the route like 2 years ago. We find out Plumcut's a little absent-minded, apparently. Another absent-minded professor. And somehow he starts talking about the Borgias who are in the exhibit. It's a big Borgia town around here.
What a coincidence.
Yeah, the professor starts talking about sorcery and shape-shifting and spell casting, as of course you do. We get some exposition about shape-shifting, as he puts it, people being changed into cats, dogs, and other creatures. Plumcut gets kind of spooky talking about things like, oh, the things that stir us in dark nights. And Wilby's, I was like, all right, well, good to see you. I'm going to go.
This made me wish for a Professor Plumcut like episodic TV show, like Amazing Stories or The Twilight Zone, like Professor Plumcut's, trips through history.
Tonight
Yes.
we are talking
Oh,
about
man.
torture.
Like,
In
what was
medieval
the show with
England.
Leonard Nimoy?
Oh yeah, In Search of.
In Search of, with
Yeah.
Professor
Right,
Plumcut.
yes. Search of
Ancient aliens. Were they a thing? I don't know, but it's very interesting.
Have you ever heard of black magic? Yeah, it could be a real Jack Palance, Ripley's Believe It or Not too.
Oh, yeah. Believe it or not. Plumcut's a weird dude. And he's like, I bet you wouldn't think I'd be interested in these things, but I am. So Wilby's trying to leave and knocks over this like end table full of like rings and artifacts, and stuff goes flying everywhere. And he tries to help
very
the professor.
precarious though.
Again, yes.
Can't blame Wilby.
Right. Wilby has some proprioceptory issues with knowing where things are around him, but
But I mean,
that's
it was
okay.
just right in the middle of the
right
room.
in the middle of the floor, yeah, and everything's loose on top. So anyway, he tries to help, and the professor shoos him off, and he leaves. The professor says, "They say it takes all kinds." Which, come on, professor,
Come on, man.
you're a kind. Back in the neighborhood, Buzz is dropping off Francesca, and they've clearly made a date. Francesca wonders, "Oh, I wonder what happened to Wilby." Not that she apparently cared enough to go check before they left.
Yeah, come on, it's ditching him.
Francesca is frustratingly detached. She's a chaos agent.
Yeah.
She's one of those people just isn't aware of the chaos they cause in other people's lives. She just
Military
doesn't care.
brat. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. Yeah.
No strings attached.
Yeah, that's true. Just one city to the next. Later, Wilby and Moochie are cleaning out the basement. Moochie's given the rundown of who they've sold their stuff to. Apparently, there's a big market for stray animals and chemicals in the neighborhood. Wilby's fretting about he's just a mixed up guy. And Wilson calls them upstairs to get ready for bed. Moochie heads out, but Wilby's wrapping up when he notices that a ring from the museum has fallen into the cuff of his cuffed jeans. He reads the ring's inscription in Canis Corpore Transmuto. He starts trying to remember his first year Latin, trying to figure out what it means, and in doing so, repeats the inscription many times. He's kind of flipping it around and just bebopping about it. Over in the Andrassy house, Chiffon acts like something's up, and we cut back to the basement where Wilby has started to sprout white fur from his hair. He looks into the mirror. His animals are starting to freak out. He's got some mice and a turtle, or tortoise. He gets furrier, and then we get a process shot where Chiffon disappears from the Andrassy house, and Wilby is now a sheepdog.
The couch depression.
Yeah, that was good, wasn't it?
Was solid, yeah.
The montage with the animals really made me laugh out loud.
Yeah, the freaking out animals.
Yeah.
Like a squirrel in a
time passes
wheel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wilson keeps, Wilby, come upstairs. Get in bed. But Wilby, who can talk, he'll still talk, even in his dog form. He's like stalling. Your mother told you to wear a sweater in the basement. It's cold. I've got a sweater, Pop. Wilby's
he like kind
out.
of husks it up too. He's like,
yeah.
Oh, okay, Pop.
Okay, Pop. You have a sore throat? Told you to wear a sweater. Wilby's freaking out. Says this will kill Pops. He decides only Professor Plumcott can help him, so he heads upstairs where we find out that Wilson's dog thing isn't totally psychosomatic because he starts kind of clearing his throat as he's turning out the house lights. He's got a little allergy thing there going on. Wilby jumps out a window and heads to the museum where the professor is still working. The professor starts having a conversation with the dog as if nothing was unusual.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
I was expecting you.
It's good to see you.
Well, what he says next was just so bizarre. I mean,
When he says, he finds out it's Wilby and says, I always thought you seemed like you might be a good shapeshifter.
yeah, the first time I saw you, I said to myself, that boy's got potential to be a shapeshifter or something like that. I mean,
Yeah,
what a strange thing to say.
Plumcutt's really unhinged, man. He is. He's out there.
I'm surprised Plumcutt wasn't played by who's that actor that I don't like?
Ed Wynn?
Yeah, that'd be
This would be a peak Ed Wynn role. It would be.
I think, it's like, is this really even part of the museum or is this some storeroom that he is like, I'm going to put my exhibit together. And they're like, okay, just lock Plumcutt in there for a little bit. It's going to.
Like one of their donors is like,
One
you
of
have
these
to let my
days."
dad come in and play in the back room with all the, we've got some mannequins from that old display. He can make his little torture chamber and play with them.
Another shapeshifter walking into the museum today.
I thought about having music.
Well, that's what
walking
Anderson's
down the
there
street.
for, right?
That's a shapeshifter. That's a
That guy right there is
shapeshifter.
a shapeshifter, yeah.
Isn't that why Dr. Andersey's there? Isn't he probably there to replace Professor?
Yeah, well, they say he's like an assistant curator at the museum. So I'm like, man, this museum is hopping.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess.
But maybe, he's going to be the real guy. And Plumcutt's just he's our, honorary curator.
Right.
The Volunteer Curation Guild. He says, I always thought you seemed like you look like a good shapeshifter, which is an odd thing to say. Wilby shows him the ring, which of course belonged to the Borgias, who are everywhere in this town. Professor's excited to have it back, and Wilby's like, well, that's great. You're super excited about the ring, but I don't want to be a dog. And the professor's kind of surprised. He's like, well, why not?
Yeah.
Dogs are fun. But I can't do anything anyway. Must just be an old spell. I don't know. He's super unhelpful. Says
Then
that,
he gets wildly speculative. Like,
Yeah.
From a storytelling perspective, though, I don't know why they left this in. This seems like a scene that should have just been cut.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't add anything. I don't think there's anything that happens that's even referenced later.
Right.
So I'm surprised that I didn't.
I guess it just establishes that he like
Tried to get help.
Well, he tells
It's
them
like-
there are a few rules that he.
yeah, right. He
but
tells
he's
them that,
guessing. He's
right.
guessing.
It's, yeah, exactly.
He's like, there are all kinds of spells. He says some break after a while, others come and go like a headache, which is turns out what Wilby has, although neither of them know this at the time. Says Wilby could be a dog sometime and a boy the rest of the time. Also says an act of heroism could cure Wilby, as those are often important in breaking spells, even though he's basing all this on like old stories and like fables.
Well, and one of many spells that it could be. It's like,
Yeah, there's this one story that isn't even an old story because I think Felix Salten was like still alive. So it couldn't have been that old. I don't know when Hound of Florence was written, but he mentions Hound of Florence. And he's like, have you ever heard the Hound of Florence? It's about a young man who's in love with a beautiful girl, but gets turned into a dog. And eventually he gets into a fight with an evil duke to save the girl and is fatally stabbed, but turns back into a person before he dies. So that's good.
Thanks, Professor.
Yeah, he takes this as evidence that the spell can be broken. As then it's like, I got work to do, Wilby. You should just be happy. Have a
that
stiff
made
upper
me
lip.
laugh. He's like, excuse me, I have some work to do. It's like, yes, I've just seen the boy transformed into a dog. I have to get back to this exhibit I'm putting together.
I gotta get back to my witch mannequin.
Pardon me.
The arm is loose on my witch mannequin, so I gotta fix her. Yeah, Wilby is generally unsatisfied with this help, quote unquote. Yeah, I love it. He's like, well, what should I do? He's like, oh, be happy.
Yeah.
That's good life advice, Professor Plumcott. So head out to the street where we find the ultimate Disney cop. The Disney cop.
There he is.
Yeah.
In all
Until
his glory.
Mr. Garrison.
Until Mr. Garrison. He's out on the street getting some coffee, and we get a bit of business. He turns around, runs into Wilby, and Wilby's like, sorry. There's some back and forth before the cop realizes what has happened. Like he's like, oh, don't worry about it. Okay, thanks.
And it's the same ones from Absent Minded Professor.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, is that
Yeah.
guy? Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's those same guys. I mean,
Same guys. So he realizes finally, oh, the dog talked. And he gets into his car. He's spooked. Asks his partner, did you see that dog? And he can't bring himself to tell his partner what happened. So we have a nyah nyah moment as the cop sort of stares off into the distance and drinks his coffee. It's kind of weird. Back home, Wilby comes in the window as Moochie's kind of groggy, kind of watching, half asleep. Wilby grabs his PJs, which is fun, goes into the bathroom, puts them on. We hear him gargling, and we see him brush his teeth. The dog brushes his teeth. We also get a toilet flush, which must have been avant-garde. Had him rolling in the aisles. Can you believe it? And the toilet go flush. Wilby comes out in his PJs, gets in bed, and Moochie again watches as he falls back asleep.
The Moochie acting like he was sleeping when he was supposed to be sleeping.
Yeah.
Really cracked me up. Not his finest moment as an actor. Can we also talk about how Moochie has a trumpet on his wall? Which
I did notice that. That's perfect.
Yeah, that tracks.
Wake up!
Yeah.
Hey guys. I'm surprised he didn't wake him up one morning with the trumpet.
yeah,
Just because.
maybe it was cut out.
The dog in the PJs was a little weird, especially
didn't
because
like
the dog
that?
it didn't have a tail, so
Oh yeah, he should have cut a hole for his tail. This is uncomfortable.
well, the dog didn't have a tail to begin with. Later, I mean, I discovered.
Oh
that,
right,
but
that's right. So he kind of has person booty.
yeah, it's kind of like a bear, like wearing clothes.
A bear in pajamas? How can that be?
does that make you uncomfortable, Robert?
Yeah, it was just felt this. It was just. It's like you're
Your
expecting to
Lola
see
Bunny
something,
moment.
and
Remember when
A dog
Bugs Bunny
tail.
would dress up like a girl bunny?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
Is this an uncanny valley kind of thing or what?
yeah, it was gonna. Well, the whole dog puppet thing is the uncanny valley, big time. But
Oh yeah, yeah.
Wag your tail, 1, 2, 3. Cross your paws, bend your knee. Turn around facing me. Do the Shaggy Dog, cha-cha-cha. Spin around and repeat. Keep on spinning to the beat. Stamp out the rhythm with your paws, a beat. That's the Shaggy Dog, cha-cha-cha.
Well, Act 2 begins with a sweet dog just strolling down the sidewalk past the Daniels house until it hears the alarming sound of Mr. Daniels humming as he comes out the front door, and the dog immediately just takes off running, which means I guess Daniels has a reputation in the dog community of being that guy. Mr. Daniels is getting his morning newspaper and returns inside yelling for the boys to wake up. Moochie starts telling Wilby, who's still asleep under the covers, that he had a dream last night that Wilby was a shaggy dog. But Wilby isn't responding to his brother. So Moochie pulls back the covers and finds that Wilby is still a dog and it wasn't a dream after all. The two try to figure out what to do because their father swore that the first time he found a dog in their house, he'd shoot it. But trouble's coming because here comes Pop up the stairs. And Wilby gets back in the bed, and Moochie covers him up again. And Wilson comes in the room. He's like, "Bruh."
Yeah, what's his problem?
Yeah. And he's like,
He's
come on,
very
boys, let's go.
intrusive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Immediately, Moochie does his best to distract him so he doesn't discover that his oldest son is actually a dog. And, actually, Moochie does a pretty good job. It actually works.
Yeah. This Moochie bit with the harmonica destroys me.
It's incredible. Useful moochieing though.
Moochie. Moochie is like Moochie uses his moochiness like intentionally in this movie.
Right.
I feel like it's
A
like
lot, yeah.
it's not
controlling
forced
power.
Moochie. Yeah, it's
Right. It's not
organic Moochie.
unbridled Moochie. He channels his Moochie for good. I always kind of identified with the Tommy Kirk Moochie dynamic in this particular movie because they're kind of like I feel if I had turned into a dog, Jeff would have probably reacted the same way at a certain age, but they're kind of like they're teaming up though. They're teaming up.
Yeah.
They are. Well, Wilson tells the boys to hurry up and get downstairs. And then down at the breakfast table, Mrs. Daniels greets her husband, and they have like a weird kind of distant, non-intimate, symbolic smooch.
Yeah.
She's like, morning, dear. And they're like a foot apart. And
Like they
give each
kiss
other
from like
fake
a foot
kiss.
away. Yeah.
She pours his coffee for him, and while reading the morning paper,
more coffee
Wilson
service.
begins to itch. Yeah, coffee service. Well, Wilson begins to itch, and he asks Frida if she had seen any dogs in the house, and she, of course, says no, they wouldn't dare. And then he asks her if his eyes have gotten puffy, and she says they've always been puffy, dear, which I thought was funny.
Mad burn.
Yeah, I laughed at that.
Wilson continues to scratch at his neck, and he suspects that his wife is hiding a dog, and she's kind of offended at the implications, and she tells him sternly, Wilson, I think you'd better eat your eggs. And this was, I'd already kind of started not liking Fred MacMurray's character, but this was really the beginning of me not liking him.
Yeah.
But anyway, upstairs, Wilby's trying to explain to Moochie that he may be a dog, but he's not going to be his pet. But then Wilson calls out for them to come and eat breakfast. And boys, come eat breakfast. And Moochie says he'll tell father that Wilby isn't hungry so that Wilby can stay upstairs, but Wilby says he's starving and asks Moochie to bring him some food. Well, Moochie and his father are down at the breakfast table, and Wilson continues reading his newspaper, but unable to wait any longer, Wilby decides that he's going to sneak out of the house, and he starts heading down the stairs. So Moochie notices his brother trying to slide by, and once again distracts his father by asking him questions about the newspaper. I think it was like a lawnmower ad. He's like, "Hey, Dad, what's this ad here?"
Listen to this.
Hey, Dad.
Moochie.
Yeah, well, this works, of course, and gives Wilby the chance to get by unnoticed. Well, then Wilby heads into the kitchen where his mother catches him trying to get something to eat. And she tries to kind of shush him out. And right then, this is when really cemented my disdain for this character. He's like, "My toast!
Yes,
My toast!
that made me so mad.
Where's my toast?
Where's my toast?
Frida, my toast.
It's like, it's toast, dude.
Like, get your own toast.
My toast!" Cracker. Frida brings Wilson his toast through like a swinging kitchen door. And while the door's kind of swinging shut, he gets brief glimpses of in the kitchen, and he thinks he sees a dog in the kitchen. Wilson asks his wife Frida if there is a dog in the kitchen, and her response, which is kind of silly, is, "Well, what kind of a dog?" And sets Wilson off.
That's all I need to know.
"That's it. Give me my shotgun." And he goes and gets his shotgun. And Moochie's like, "Oh, Dad, don't do it." And he's just begging. He's like, "Please, you can't shoot your own." And then it's a neighbor's dog. And then Moochie smartly, again, does a great move here. He yells even louder, kind of cups his hands around his mouth, and yells almost like a warning to Wilby, who hears him in the kitchen, and he takes off running. Well, Wilson's not far behind him, and he even takes a shot at Wilby with the shotgun.
Come on, dude.
Yeah,
You're in a neighborhood.
exactly.
Dark.
You're in town limits, and you're aiming towards a house.
And
shooting
your
at a dog.
laundry.
Yeah, which was a cool effect. So
It was
so
a cool effect.
Wilby gets around the corner and he runs through some laundry that's being hung out to dry. And the shot, even though it's not very realistic, it was a cool effect of how they did that.
Yeah, it really was.
I thought that was done, or well done. So yeah, Wilson is chasing Wilby around the yard some more until Wilby escapes. And then Wilson does some more old man yelling at him. He's like, "Well, next time I will, or something like that. He just kind of runs out of things to say. Wilby is still very hungry, but suddenly catches the delightful smell of bacon cooking from the Andresi house, aka the new neighbors, where we see Francesca talking with their butler, Stefano, as he is cooking up a mess of bacon.
A lot of bacon.
Francesca is
Chris Christie.
upset.
Love his bacon.
Chris Christie likes his bacon.
Francesca is upset that her dog, Chiffon, is missing and blames Stefano for not watching him close enough.
Let me talk about the way Francesca talks down to the servants, especially him. I do not care for that. She's a little snooty. I don't like it.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, about that time, Wilby arrives at the door and the butler lets him in, saying, "Ah, there you are. Where have you been all night, you wretched beast?" Wilby immediately goes immediately goes up to the pan of bacon and tries to grab a piece before Francesca.
No, don't do that.
You're going to burn yourself, number one.
Like that burning grease in your fur? No way, dude.
Francesca gets onto him, thinking, of course, Wilby's her dog. And then Wilby just kind of lays down in the floor of the kitchen, and Francesca playfully asks him, some questions like what has he been up to, but then quickly forgives him, and she offers him some breakfast. And then Wilby, I guess forgetting he's a dog, just kind of hops up in a chair at the table, of course, much to Francesca's surprise, and she gets him down, but just as the doorbell rings. Well, then here goes Stefano, and he's going to go open the door, and he opens the door for a Mr. Thurm, who's a shady-looking character played by the great Struthers Martin.
Yeah.
AKA, what we have here is a failure to communicate.
Uh-huh.
Thurm is there to see Dr. Andresi, who's expecting him, and Stefano leads him upstairs. Well, meanwhile, back in the kitchen, Francesca has poured Wilby some dog food in a bowl, and it doesn't look too appealing to Wilby after, Francesca insists that he eats it, and he eventually does, but it made me wonder, I was like, so does Wilby like the dog food as
I wondered that too. I thought when he ate it, they should have had him be like, You know,
Yeah,
like,
right.
yeah,
But
yeah.
instead, they had the slowest chewing Foley of all time.
Crunch, crunch, crunch.
The call Foley is so good.
Well, later, Francesca is headed out of the house, and Wilby tries to follow her. But she says, "Oh, no, you don't." And she orders Stefano to take the dog and prevent him from escaping again.
Jerk.
Well, Stefano leads Wilby by the collar into a side room and locks the door. And this time he takes the key with him just to ensure that there's no way for him to get out. Well, this side room is mainly full of like junk and all kinds of stuff.
It's a big old, like, I thought it was he's putting him in a closet. But this
Right.
is like a portal to Narnia or something. There, under the stairway.
It is, and there's a window in this room. It looks like a stained glass window or something like that. But Wilby tries to thinks he might be able to get out that way, and there's some boxes, and he tries to climb up on them, but ends up falling to the ground. And that stunt of that dog falling down, I was like, oh, poor dog.
I know.
No, Sam, man.
But the fall itself triggers the morphing effect, and Wilby is now back to human again, which didn't make sense. I don't understand why. It seemed as if they were implying that the fall is what triggered it.
Yeah, I thought it knocked him out or something, and that's what made it happen. But we find out later sleep doesn't make it happen necessarily. Or
Right,
we've already
right.
seen that, I guess.
But when Wilby transforms back into the human, we then also see Chiffon reappear in the living room on the couch. But Wilby is still stuck in the room. So we've got the dog is now outside the room, but Wilby is still in the room, in the side room. So Wilby happily realizes he's human again, and he finds a screwdriver and takes the door off the hinges to escape. But just as he does, the real Chiffon comes barking, and Wilby, kind of freaks out a little bit and takes the screwdriver and kind of tosses it to the side, and Chiffon goes and fetches it in his mouth. Well, right about then, the butler Stefano returns after preparing a tray with some coffee, and the shock of finding the door unhinged and Chiffon holding the screwdriver in his mouth causes him to drop the tray and bust all the dishes and everything.
That made me laugh. Yeah.
Back at the Daniels house, Moochie is outside looking in the bushes for his brother. He's like, Wilby! Wilby! And
Can count on Moochie to be low key,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Wilby arrives, and Moochie is disappointed to see that his brother is no longer a dog. And because Moochie's holding a dog collar and a ball.
A collar, though.
Yeah. It looks like something for a tiger.
Yeah.
Dog. And Wilby isn't happy with his little brother either. He's saying this dog business is over. But it's clear that I don't think Wilby's convinced that it's actually over. But Wilby asks where their father is, and Moochie says he's inside cleaning his gun. And once again, Tommy Kirk gives a great gulp moment.
Yes.
That was a great take there. Well, later that evening, the Daniels families gathered around the dinner table, and Mrs. Daniels says to her husband that if he doesn't mind, they'll have dinner early tomorrow night since they are all going to go to the country club dance. Well, Wilson, continuing his misogynist ways, asks if his best suit is clean, and the sharp Frida says, yes, it is. She had it cleaned last week. She's on the ball. But then
Really
she
is.
but then she asks Wilby, she's like, Wilby, why don't you take a girl to the dance this time? And before Wilby can answer, Wilson's like, he's too young. He shouldn't be young. And then Frida kind of turns it on him, and she's like, that's nonsense. And then she's saying, just because you didn't go out with girls until you were 23.
Frida's miserable. She just lives on burning her husband.
Yeah, totally.
It's so true. And he's like, that's not true. No, I was 20 and shy. Well, Frida convinces Wilson and suggests that Wilby take Allison to the dance. But Wilby's like, Buzz is the one that takes Allison to all the dances. And then they try to think of someone else. But Moochie's like, why can't Wilby just take me to the dance instead? And of course, Wilby isn't having any of that. Wilby's mom finally suggests that he takes Francesca. But Wilby shoots that idea down, saying, he wouldn't even have a chance with her. And then there's a knock on the door. And of course, again, the lazy Wilson's like, Wilby, you go see who that is.
Yeah.
And Wilby gets up and goes to check on it, and it's Buzz, and he wants to talk to Wilby. Wilby thinks it's about the money again.
This when Buzz is rocking the sweater vest.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Toxic Buzz.
Buzz says it's not about the money. He has another problem because he's asked Allison and Francesca both to the dance, and he needs Wilby to help him out. So he's going to use Wilby to make Allison think Francesca is his date, but instead Francesca will think Allison is Wilby's date. Buzz thinks this is going to be fun because it's just a harmless little joke on the girls, but it's really a win-win situation for him. Well, to avoid having to go with Moochie to the dance, Wilby agrees to do it. Well, the next evening, Wilby is sitting in the back of Buzz's hot rod, all dressed up. And just as Buzz opens the car door, the beautifully dressed Allison, who compliments Wilby on how nice he looks, is getting in. And Buzz hops in and peels out. This gave me a great chuckle because Buzz hops into his hot rod and just revs the engine and peels out just to do like a U-turn and basically go maybe 10 feet total. Across the street in front of Jessica.
Yeah, it's like exactly opposite on the street. Yeah.
He's like, boom, he's there. And then the engine's off again.
Buzz got the nice white evening coat on, too.
Oh, yeah.
Sharp.
Yeah.
Looks like the one I wore to Uncle Bob's wedding back in the day.
Yes, it does. Real Buzz vibe back then.
Buzz hops out, but tells Wilby there's no need for him to get out too, because he'll fetch his date for him. Alone in the car, Allison says to Wilby, imagine taking the prettiest girl in town to the dance. Then the bashful Wilby kind of tries to play it off, but then Allison keeps going and says, Francesca certainly seems to find you attractive. And then she says, of course, I'm not as sophisticated as she is, but there is something about you lately, something unusual.
Yeah.
So you're starting to detect that Allison's a little thirsty there for Wilby too.
I was at this point. I was like, "Ditch the snob, Wilby. Work on Allison."
Yeah.
You got a window there.
Would have been the smart play.
Yep.
About this time, Buzz and Francesca come walking up to the hot rod, and they all greet one another. And Buzz suggests that both girls sit up front with him, since sitting in the back can be murder on the hair.
This whole stunt is so ridiculous.
It's like Proto Three's Company.
Yeah.
With Buzz.
Well, Francesca enters the car and she says something French to Allison, who's you can definitely tell is annoyed, but she politely says that she doesn't speak French. And then Wilby just kind of sinks down in his seat.
Why do you keep doing that French flex? Come on.
Yeah.
Big deal.
Show us another language. You know 7 of them. How about something else? Well, at the country club dance, everybody's there, including the Daniels family, and they're all in there dancing and having a good time.
Yeah, Wilson's really happy now. This is like the
I
one
was
time.
dying.
That was me too.
I was dying at Wilson in this real Nettie the Nut vibes almost.
Yeah, absolutely Nettie to the nut.
He needed that fur coat and the saxophone.
Yeah.
Well, as Buzz removes Allison's coat, he continues his plan and asks her to do him a favor and dance with Wilby first, saying that Wilby is nervous and scared of Francesca. Well, Allison finds it kind of odd since Francesca is supposed to be Wilby's date. And plus, Buzz has never shown concern for Wilby before, but she agrees. Well, in front of Francesca, Buzz suggests Wilby and Allison have the first dance, and the two couples begin to dance. Well, Francesca mentions to Buzz that Wilby and Allison look very sweet together. And Buzz, kind of the gears are turning and he's going to keep working his plan. And he tells Francesca that Wilby has a crush on Allison, but Allison isn't interested in him, saying she goes for the more sophisticated type. Well, Francesca has this
sophisticated thing about.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't either.
Francesca gets this idea that she will make a fuss over Wilby and pretend to be interested in him to make Allison jealous. And of course, Buzz loves this idea, not realizing what's going to happen.
Is this the one where he's like, she can't see Wilby for sour apples?
Yeah, that's it. The song ends, and there's this great band playing. And the band leader stands up. All right, the next dance will be a ladies' tag dance.
Man, where did they find this band?
Oh,
Where did they
so
get these guys from?
I looked it up. So they're a real band from
Well, I mean,
San
they have to
Gabriel
be.
High School. From San Gabriel High School is where they got these guys. They
Same
went
high
down to the
school.
local high school and said, "Hey, anybody got a band around here?"
Well, I mean, those guys definitely weren't actors. It was like, I hope this is a real band because it was like, and now a special song for you people.
Yeah, the band leader's a little stiff. He's coming
Little
across a little stiff.
All right, kid, read this line.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he says, all right, the next dance is going to be a ladies' tag dance, and which is basically, where a girl goes up and taps the other girl who's dancing with somebody, and she can take her dance partner. So anyways, both girls, both Allison and Francesca, rush over to dance with Wilby. But Francesca gets to him first, which is right in front of the disappointed Allison. So Allison ends up dancing with Buzz. Before long, Allison tags Francesca on the back to indicate that she now wants to dance with Wilby and explains that it is customary, and Francesca is now left dancing with Buzz. But Francesca doesn't wait long herself and does the exact same thing right back to Allison, taking Wilby as her dance partner once again. And then here comes this other young lady who also wants to dance with Wilby and tags Francesca. So everybody's wanting a piece of Wilby suddenly.
And I'm like, yeah, all right. Go Wilby.
Yeah, Annette is mad sassy in this movie. I love it. Loving it.
Buzz is dancing with Allison and notices that Wilby, of course, is getting all the attention in the room. And he asks Allison, hey, what are you thinking? What are you doing over here? And she's like, I'm just breaking the ice. And he's like, yeah, break it. Don't melt it. I was like, that's a good line. Allison quickly tags in again to dance with Wilby. And all while this is going on, Wilson and Frida and Moochie are sitting over there at a side table, drinking coffee and looking on, which I don't know. It just felt weird that there were like these families just watching these kids dance. I don't know. It's a different time, but it still felt weird.
Moochie has a real, his hair is so long. It's kind of like a 1970s, haircut. Very
He's going to the
dumpling
Grammys
gang.
or something.
Yeah.
Wilson says it's amazing that all those pretty girls actually seem to enjoy dancing with Wilby.
Come on, man.
And he says something like, if I had to bet anything, I would have bet something like Wilby would have been the All-American Wallflower. I think that's what he says.
Yeah.
And this causes Frida to say that there are more things about your son that you don't know. And of course, she doesn't know about Wilby being a dog, but of course Moochie does. And Moochie's stuffing his face with cake, but all of a sudden stops and gives that signature big eyes Moochie look.
That piece of cake was no joke.
The cake, him and the cake was the most Moochie, probably the highest Moochie of the movie, probably.
Well, the song ends, and of course that same stiff young band leader stands up and he yells out, "The next number is a Paul Revere."
Paul Revere.
At first, I don't even know what a Paul Revere dance is.
Me
Does
neither.
anybody know?
I had to go look
looked
it up.
I couldn't figure it out. What did you
I still
figure it
couldn't
out?
figure it out either. Yeah.
No.
I was like,
I mean, it's like
I looked it up,
almost
I
like
couldn't
a barn dance kind of thing.
yeah, it's like a line dance.
But every time I looked it up, it was
Square
in
dance.
reference to this movie. Was the weird thing, and it was like Paul Revere. It was like just had the line. I was like, "Well, that's weird."
Well, it's like we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna make the Paul Revere sweep the world.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a Paul Revere. Everyone,
All the lights dim down, and again, both girls beeline it for Wilby. But again, Francesca gets to him first. And Wilson asks Frida to dance, and she tells Moochie, "No more cake." and
come on, Ma.
he's like, "Ah!" And he's just sitting at the table. It was this kind of thing. I don't know. I think I related to that moment. I don't know. I think I have a memory somewhere of my being at something very similar where my parents were like, "All right, Andy, don't eat anymore." And I'm like, okay, I'm sitting here by myself. But anyways, yeah, so Wilby's having a wonderful time, and he kind of gets caught up in the moment, and he's dancing with the beautiful Francesca when suddenly he begins to transform back into the Shaggy Dog again. Well, now Moochie, of course, his parents are not around. He gets up and he's going to fill his plate full of sandwiches.
Swiping sandwiches. Moochie
When
being-
nobody's looking. And he sees Wilby transforming from across the room and gives his signature, "Oh no," or "Oh no" face.
There's a great camera zoom there.
Yeah, it was bizarre though, wasn't it? That's something I hadn't seen before in like a Disney film.
Yeah.
This
Kind of shaky.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Yes, Moochie runs over to warn Wilby as the whole dance floor starts like this Paul Revere dance, as we kind of talked about. It's kind of like a weird square dance like thing where they were kind of dancing with partners, but now they've moved to this like left hand, right hand alternating partner switching thing where surely, Wilby's transforming. You're starting to see the fur come back.
Why did nobody notice?
Exactly. Someone would have noticed.
Yeah,
for
that
sure.
seemed a little
Like you grab, because his
far-fetched,
hands were like furry, like paws already.
Right.
So it's like, oh, that guy's hand was a paw, a fuzzy paw.
Yeah. It's like no one would be looking at him in the face as they went through.
Although his face as he's dancing in this like transformation mode kills me. He's got this like, he's so happy. He's just like, huh. Just happy Wilby with all this like fluff coming off of his face.
Moochie's gets caught up in the commotion of all the dancing, but he finally makes it to his brother and basically just tackles him. And
That's a solid tackle too.
Yeah.
And he warns him. He's like, "You're turning back to a dog." And Wilby is rather upset. And then he does this kind of awkward dive behind some indoor plants.
Yeah.
In the club. And then they have this processed overlay shot, whooshy kind of thing, showing that Chiffon, the dog, back at the Andersey home, is now disappearing. And Wilby emerges from the plants as the Shaggy Dog once again. Well, Moochie is excited to see him. He's like, "Oh boy, you're a dog again."
But I like laughed out loud at the bone drop because Chiffon disappears and the bone is still in the air and goes, "Talk," just on the ground. It's so dumb. I laughed so hard at that.
Because someone thought that through. They're like, "Oh, we gotta have the bone falling."
Oh yeah. It's just the timing of it is like perfect timing of the drop.
Yeah, so Moochie's excited and he says that he's a lot more fun as a dog than he is as a big brother. And Wilby tells him to shut up. He's like, "Shut up. Get me out of here." Moochie points the way for Wilby to sneak out. And as Wilby, of course, in the dog form, is crawling along the floor, Francesca notices him, thinking that it's her dog Chiffon again and wondering why is her dog there. And she's like, "Catch him for me, Buzz." And Buzz is like, "Oh, okay." And starts chasing after him. And Wilby runs away through the crowded dance hall with Buzz in pursuit. And of course, Wilson. So he's like, "Oh, that's that dog again." And just kind of starts scratching at himself again. Then Wilby escapes through something that's in this movie a lot is there's a lot of just open windows everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Once again,
nobody had AC. Although I like having been lived in California a while, I totally believe it because like nowhere has AC and it's all about windows being open. So I believe it.
Yeah. Wilby escapes through the open window and into the parking lot and still with Buzz chasing him around, but then he ultimately gets away. And this really sets up the tension. And so now stay tuned for Act 3 and the conclusion of The Shaggy Dog, 1959.
Wilby, are you all right? Oh boy, you're a dog again.
What are you so happy about?
Gosh, Wilby, you know you're a lot more fun as a dog than you are as my brother.
Ah, shut up and get me out of here.
Okay, boy, I don't want anything to happen to you now. Come on, sneak out that way. Chiffon! What in the world is he doing here?
Who?
Chiffon! Chiffon! Get him, Buzz.
Oh, yeah.
Back home, the phone rings. Wilson does a little too much explaining to save them from doing cuts back and forth from the dog on the phone, I guess. But anyway, Wilson starts restating all the questions. Is it all right if you stay at Buzz's house? Okay.
Well, I thought it was interesting, too, because they showed one picture or like one shot of the dog in the phone booth, but it never had his voice. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's just like they established that he was, but then they never used anything.
No,
it was a weird choice by the director.
Yeah.
The same cops that we continue to see throughout all of our Disney movies are come across the dog on the phone, and as Hanson approaches, Wilby says sorry and runs off. Rattled by the sight of the dog on the phone, Officer Hanson says he had a whim and decided not to phone home. I just kept waiting for him to back his car into a lake or something after that. But I hear water. Buzz drops off his dates, and Allison has had enough. Buzz does another overly aggressive burnout and U-turn and drops off Francesca.
It's really getting into this gag at this point.
She's had enough too. Francesca storms off. So Buzz just doesn't get it and gives Francesca a, well, that's gratitude for you speech. God. One that never goes over well for me personally if I ever try to pull that off. But after explaining what a bad night he'd had, she agrees to help him with the scratch over his eye. Oh, poor Buzz. Buzz tosses Wilby under the bus and hard, saying the whole double date ruse was his idea. And an obvious puppet dog pops up behind them and watches the two of them talk back and forth before barking and quickly ducking behind the couch until the real dog bounds back up. So I enjoyed that sequence.
Yeah, that dog, even the fake dog take was good. It was just like an angry listening dog.
Buzz keeps referring to the rare dog as a mutt, and he continues to lay it on thick until Wilby has had enough and pounces on Buzz, and a brouhaha erupts, and the Shaggy Dog wins out, and Buzz decides to split. So another moment where they're just like, all right, Sam, go get him.
Yeah. Sam really goes after Buzz quite a bit in this movie. Yeah.
Francesca stops by Dr. Velasquez's study, which I might add is pretty sweet.
Oh, yeah.
She asks if he will watch the dog so he doesn't escape again. She gives Wilby a kiss, and we get this weird ear effect that they've rigged.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre.
But when she first comes in, he hides his papers.
Yeah. He's up to something.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, okay. That's when you get the first indication. Well, of course, Thurn or whatever his name was before. But then this one, you were like, okay, there's something going on here.
Starts moving to the Hitchcock part of the film.
Yeah.
In walks one of Velasquez's spy buddies, and they start talking about undersea hydrogen missile plans. As Wilby listens in, Wilby escapes through the laundry chute. And how many slow-mo shots do you think they got of that?
That slow-mo, I wondered that too, like how many takes they did of that. Or if they were just like, just get it in one with what, put 5 cameras on it.
Sam loves it. Do it again.
Well, that's what they were talking about. They were talking about how he would do everything in the first take. They were even talking about, there's a scene where he goes up to the mirror and does a double take, and that was just unplanned. They were like, he was a natural. He was the best. You know, Sam.
Take Sam.
A legend.
Something we've not talked about yet is the dog effect of him talking.
Yeah.
That's Uncanny Valley big time for me.
But is it a dog or is it like they've kind of, did like the Tusken Raider thing where they fast forwarded and stopped it and reversed it kind of thing? Or is it like something, I don't know.
One try to thing get the dog I read,
like
and
Mr. Ed thing.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I read that they use like beef jerky to get him to talk. And then depending on like the mouth motions, they would rewrite the dialogue to make sure that it fit. Like, or just tweak it to make sure it fit. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I saw that somewhere.
That's how they did with Mr. Ed, right?
Yeah. They gave him peanut butter.
Peanut butter, yeah.
Yeah, they gave him peanut butter. Stuck in the laundry room, Wilby manages to get a ladder out and climb it with this is some solid dog acting.
For real?
This
guy's Sam is a very good boy.
Level.
There's no Jeb or whatever that dog
Yeah, this
was.
is not Jeb, that hack dog from always looking off at the trainer. Like I never saw a look take from Sam. Over the trainer.
I mean, gosh, yeah.
The dog pushes the ladder in place before it falls on him, and he's still stuck. So another great take from Sam. The next morning, Moochie is mooching on the front porch, taking in a Scrooge McDuck comic.
Yeah.
Wearing his little alpine hat, too.
Why has he got a Bing Crosby hat on?
He's using the Scrooge McDuck comic to cover what he's reading, which is How to Train Your Dog.
Why would he need to train a dog when it's his brother? It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Moochie goes full Moochie here and gives us a, gosh, Pop, I thought someday you might change your mind about dogs. Wilson ain't having it.
No.
And reading dog training books is a big waste of time. It's a waste of time. Stop it.
Right, and we get in this that Moochie is short for Montgomery.
Yeah.
It's a crucial key to the Moochie verse.
Is that here? I have it noted later, but maybe did he call Montgomery here too?
Yeah, I think so.
So back in the laundry room, Willoughby is able to move a pile of suitcases and boxes and make it out of the basement. He meets up with Moochie and tells him the whole plan to steal something from the local missile plant. The local missile plant.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's one in every town.
That's right.
So it was a
First
different world in the
strike target.
50s.
This is, I noticed on the side of the cop car, it said Springfield Police. And so I don't know. Of course, it's kind of like the Simpsons Springfield, but or maybe our those other guys, that other podcast know something about it. I don't know.
What other podcast?
Something Spring University. Yeah. I don't know.
Sounds terrible.
Check those guys out. They sound like they may have something going on over there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not convinced.
Booch tells Pop all about it. Wilson dismisses it all and calls both of his kids woolly-headed. Woolly-headed kids. You're woolly-headed. Willoughby decides he needs to give his dad the quote-unquote shock treatment. And then asks, where's the gun? Which Moochie is like, I have the key right here. Seems like there should be a disclaimer for that one now at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, the gun violence in this. Willoughby goes in and begins to talk to Wilson as the dog.
Such a great scene, man.
The framing of this shot is amazing.
So incredible.
Hey, Pop. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Wilbur. What is it?
What is it? What's wrong, son?
I'm reading a paper again. Well, he never does any work. I mean, this is like the third day in a row. He shouldn't even been doing something.
He's like Newman.
It's all in the garage. That's what he wanted to clean out the basement for. He's going to put the mail there.
He's going to keep the mail in the basement. It's raining out. I don't deliver on the rain. After some back and forth, Wilson assures Willoughby he can tell him anything. Willoughby asks to shake on it and offers his hairy paw. Upon shaking hands with a dog, causes Wilson to faint. Which
his exclamation, "No!" It's perfect.
Willoughby and Moochie hide in the bushes, waiting for the fallout, and decide to get the help from the police, the same ones we saw earlier. Evidently, the only two cops in all of Disney universe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we find out there are a few more later. But.
Yeah, for this era, I mean,
Moochie says he needs to report a spy and gives them his name. We get a weird line that evidently where he accused the divinity, the dean of the Divinity College, of being a gangster. And we get touch off on that again. Willoughby arrives and talks to them, and they still don't buy it, and decides
it's just a kid in a dog suit.
Yeah,
these people are really
we've seen it 100 times.
Yeah, not amazed by talking dogs in this town.
So they decide to deal with the Martians over at the stockyard instead and leave. Stefano nabs Wilby and takes him home. Wilson is trying to snap to as Frida runs off to get the spirits of ammonia. She's really going to wake him up hard with that stuff. But Moochie runs in and grabs him, and now he's all on board with the spy story. So
I like how he finally believes him. He's like, "All right, now I'm in 100%. I believe."
So Wilson and Moochie run out the front door, and he tells Frida as he's leaving to stay out of it, as she's trying to stop him from. At the local security agency, Wilson is telling the story. Of course, the dog part raises some suspicions, as it would. Wilson mentions Section 32, though, and the quote-unquote security agent and his hits a button to summon some goons to come in. Some security agent goons.
Man, this detective is just such amazing casting. It's just like, tell us more about this, please. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy looked like he smelled of cigarettes.
He did.
Oh, totally. Yes.
So many cigarettes in his past.
So the G-men drag Wilson into another room while the other two security agents figure out how he knows about Section 32.
Double secret probation.
Then they usher Wilson and Moochie to talk to Dr. Galvin. And he's an honorary doctor of psychology.
Yeah, just across the
psychiatrist joke.
Eggheads.
Just across the hall too. He's just
happens to have an office across the hall from the security agency.
Like this music cue when they reveal that it's psychiatrist is like,
yeah.
They're gonna think he's crazy.
He's a wackadoodle.
Back at Dr. Velasquez's house, him and Stefano are going to review their scheme aloud to make sure that they know what the plan is.
One more time.
Let's go over this one more time. Wilby sneaks in and listens and hears the whole plan until he turns back into a human.
Nope. When I was a kid, I remember this was like super nerve-wracking for me.
Oh, yeah.
Like him behind the couch and like the spies.
Wilby tries to fast talk his way out, but Stefano pistol whips him.
Yeah.
Which seems a bit heavy for a Disney movie.
Yeah, they slap him.
Commies, man.
It's and then they decide instead of killing him on the spot, Doc decides to lock him up. It's nice. I think people dealing with missile plants would not waste time on he would have been dead.
And I gotta say though, I'm digging this plot line. Because I was afraid that we were going to stick with, he's a dog. Is he ever going to come back from being a dog kind of thing? And this, I really was not expecting this turn.
It really does like hit you in a surprise. Yeah. It's a good little gas on the fire of this plot.
Like super unexpected.
Yeah.
It's like, he's a commie spy.
It raises the stakes when you don't see it coming.
Yeah.
So we're back at the security agency. Do you think the FBI just said, no, you're not using our FBI in this movie? Or do you?
Well, I thought, are they not like security for the missile plant? Like, that's what I was thinking maybe.
Huh. I thought they were G-men. They were government. Because I thought that's what they said, that they worked for the government or something. And
right.
Well, it could be, for the plant. I don't know.
Okay, maybe so, yeah. It's
I mean, Disney had like Lockheed pretty much across the street in Burbank. So they were used to dealing with like top secret stuff.
So at the security agency, Wilson is being questioned by Dr. Galvin and thinks Wilson is fantasizing about dogs.
The psychiatrist, Paul Frees, in person. A rare Paul Frees as himself in person. Not just the voice.
His contact with Moochie, like the meeting of those two planes of existence about made my head explode.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
The confluence of things you would never expect. But yeah, Moochie, as a kid, I remember being furious at Moochie for throwing Wilson under the bus like this, even though he's got a reason.
Yeah, but Wilson's response, I mean, it was just, I mean, how many ways you can say Moochie like that? That was great.
I said,
Moochie. That was so good.
Moochie. Moochie. I said I need an audio clip of Wilson saying Moochie because he says it so many different ways and each one is better than the last.
We're going to have to go grab that for sure. I have to
have a soundboard. Moochie, Moochie.
Keep that in the back.
Murder.
Vlasky's informant returns from the missile plant with Section 32, which is some sort of pocket watch. Anyone? What was that?
I don't know. They have all the parts, though. It's very important.
I think the pocket watch was a way to hide it.
Yeah.
I think it was just some sort of
detonator. Thermal detonator.
There's trouble at the plant. The G-men are snooping around, or the security agents, or whoever they work for. They decide to use the emergency plan. Always good to have a plan A, B, and an emergency plan.
That's right.
These guys, these are professionals, man. They're ready. They're planned out.
They know what they're doing, man.
They know what's going on.
Etruscan artifacts. They are ready.
And the emergency plan involves a boat and leaving the country. So Francesca walks in and is informed that she's going away with them for a few days. And Fran isn't having that and is not excited. And the doc threatens her at this point.
Which is like rough, man.
Yeah, bad.
You're very smart. I don't need to threaten you with needless threats. Like, way to not know your dad was a commie, Francesca.
Right.
Yeah. The security agents dump Moochie off at his house, and he immediately just goes looking for Wilby. All right, get out of here.
Thanks for letting me play with your gun.
The doc and the henchmen pile into their pretty sweet 1957 Lincoln Capri Landau. Ooh. So there's a lot of Fords in these movies.
Fix or repair daily, know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mooch climbs in a window and Wilby starts to change back into a dog. Moochie and Wilby escape, plowing over Buzz and stealing his car in the process. The cops give a few extended look takes before Buzz stops the cops, and they decide to give chase.
Buzz's line, "Hey, you mangy cur, come back with my car," was always in like the sizzle reels they would put out, like on like Disney home VHS with like, you know, all the greatest hits or whatever. Hey, you mangy cur, come back with my car.
Didn't they? I think they ran this pretty extensively on the Disney Channel for a while. I remember they kept doing little teasers, and that was always the
yes,
clip.
Yeah, totally. Because I remember the music cue and everything, and then his like line. It's always what I think of.
That kind of reminds me. Did they ever colorize this film?
Yeah, because they did.
Okay,
I saw the colorized version. Yeah, I was thinking that
in the 80s when they were doing that a lot. They did Absent-Minded Professor too, and it was really creepy. I think we talked about that probably, is how creepy it was.
The Disney Plus, the still that they have when you've selected a movie and you're getting ready to say, okay, let's watch it. It's the colorized. And so I thought this movie was going to be in color, and then it was in black and white. I was like, oh, I'm confused, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I saw that and I was like, surely they don't have the colorized one. And then I looked like under extras to see if like it was on there. I was like, no, okay, it's the black and white one. But yeah, I noticed that too.
So Pop returns after having Lord knows what done to him at the security agency.
He's rough.
Must have been bad. Either that or Wilson's kind of a pansy.
He's haggard.
He calls Moochie Montgomery here and says, "Don't ever speak to me again. Don't ever speak to me again, Montgomery." So Buzz stuffs Wilson in the car, and it's time for a good old-fashioned Disney car chase.
Yeah, before or as they're stuffing him in the car, Wilson gets in a line that has become very resonant with our family down through the years. When he protests, says, "I am not a well man."
Yeah.
Which I had forgotten that this is where that came from.
That's
actually,
right,
because we say it so often.
Yes, it's often said. That's right.
Yeah.
We talk about this comedy trajectory through the years, all the awful car chases. They need to take their notes from this one. This one was a lot more efficient.
Yes.
Yes, I thought so.
It had a purpose.
I'd forgotten about it, so I was gearing up for a long one.
Right. because that's what we're used to. Because they go on forever, and with no point, it goes so long that you forget what the whole point is. This one was not like that.
So our first chase gag is a pair of headlights coming towards Wilby. At the last second, they split, and we see two motorcycles going by. Wilby scoffs, chicken.
Why was Wilby playing chicken? Why is he the Black Knight? The Black Knight.
The Black Knight.
At the police station, the patrol car is calling in an all points bulletin for stolen car being driven by a large shaggy dog.
And I love that their voice on the radio changed from when they were talking like to each other like normally in person, but then as soon as they got on that CB radio, it became like police tone talk. Like, call 57, calling this. It's just followed that stereotype for sure.
Yeah, Disney's always sticking it to the cops.
The captain starts to question them and what they're seeing, and Hanson just turns the radio off.
I hear water.
The captain calls in patrol car 7 to apprehend Hanson and his partner. Hanson and the patrol car 12 pull Wilby over in an anticlimactic chase. As Hanson frisks Wilby, he bites him off camera.
Yeah, I guess that was funny.
They couldn't get. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what because he bites. We see a bite scene later, but
Sam's too good a boy.
And it jumps in the patrol car, and Officer Kelly opens fire on the patrol car.
Reckless.
Now Kelly and Hanson are in pursuit in Buzz's Roadster. So patrol car 7 sees car 12, which starting to get a little confusing here, and calls it in as well that there's a shaggy dog in patrol car 12. At the docks, Velasquez and his goons take off in a waiting boat, but not before Wilby attacks. Francesca falls in during the scuffle and is seen lying face down in the water, like just out, done. Wilby goes in after, and the cops, Wilson and Buzz, arrive as Wilby pulls Francesca to the shore.
Now, this might be Sam's most impressive feat because that was real. Just straight up did that. And the guy did it in the interview, like wrote about how they couldn't believe it, that the dog could do that. Just carry this dead weight through the water.
Wild.
Buzz assists and takes credit in typical Buzz fashion. Wilby jumps on Buzz, and again, we get another fight sequence between Wilby as a dog and Buzz.
Did you mention the part about Officer Hanson, then gets stopped by the other officer who turns out to be his brother-in-law?
No, I kind of glossed over that.
That was strange, wasn't it?
It seemed a little...
Because he starts giving him the rundown of all the stuff he had done for him. Like, we were at the academy together, and I did this, and I lent you my suit. And he's like, and I married your sister, whatever her name is.
And said the
That's
name.
That's kind of a big deal. I mean...
Exactly. I was like, that's strange.
That was a weird moment.
It was odd.
So the security agency shows up again and arrests Wilson again.
What? No, it's not me,
No, Moochie.
Moochie.
Oh, Moochie.
Moochie.
While Buzz and Wilby fight, Francesca blacks out again, which I didn't understand that, but the real Chiffon shows up and takes all the credit.
At least Wilby finally got in a good sock at Buzz. He landed one. I was like, all right, Wilby.
Then we're treated to a bunch of spinning newspaper headlines that read, Mailman uncovers spy plot here, and local dog smashes spy ring, and some other articles that read, new tax bill may be needed, and government cost cuts to be urged, and auto mishaps and drownings top death list.
Oh, gee.
Little government overreach in there.
Just some more government overreach. We got to slide it in there. It's going to be good. Someday somebody will be able to pause this video and read those.
Right.
Put this in for Walt. He'll read them all.
At the Daniels home, Ma Daniels is getting pushed out of the way in favor of Wilson and the dog. Buzz and Wilby go out moping around now that Francesca is gone and thinking they need to go see what Allison is up to. Allison zooms off with some dude in a 58 Ford Thunderbird and calls Buzz and Wilby a couple of children.
Wait, okay. So first, a couple of things. So the news guy is Jack Albertson, who was a million different things, but I also think like the grandfather in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, maybe, but in like a ton of different stuff. But this car and horn, when they pull up for Allison, it's like blah blah, and it's like sounds like an 18-wheeler pulling up.
So inside, as they're wrapping up the pics, while Mom looks on, Moochie says he finally got a dog, with Wilson adding, "No, we've got a dog," and we roll credits.
We know Shaggy's gonna be a star. We think it's in the bag. We're so smitten, we've even written a song called the Shaggy Dog Shag. Shaggy dog, do 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 the shaggy dog, shaggy dog, do 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 the shaggy dog. Take a step or two into a hippity hop, shake a leg and shuffle with a flippity flop, toe to toe.
I always felt kind of ripped off for Wilby at the end with the thing of like Chiffon getting the credit and then Wilby just kind of getting.
Yeah, Wilby and the mom, they get the short end of the stick the whole movie.
Yeah,
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, Ma Daniels is really getting stepped on. And
She's just thinking of more
Wilby
zingers.
makes some poor choices throughout. You know, like I said, he's too close to Buzz. He doesn't need to be friends with Buzz, but man, she really is trapped in her life.
Just
really
thinking of more
tragic.
venomous jabs for breakfast.
That's right. Only at mealtime jabs. Oh man, what a life! I like that movie quite a bit.
Yeah,
you're right, Eddie. It did take a sharp turn in the third act.
That really does spice it up quite a bit.
It does. I mean, because think of how boring that it had gotten tired. I think the same gags over and over.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm glad someone was like smart. I wonder if they put that in afterwards. You know, they said, "Okay, this thing's just running.
We need
slow.
something to-
yeah, we need something to."
Right.
I just
really
tried to imagine it running like if they had really. I don't know how far they got into the idea of doing it for TV, but like the idea of like it would have been great to stretch it out over like a season of TV as you start to like realize that something's going on, and then there'd be like a little more about what's happening. Now I don't know how far they got, but you can see it playing out like over like the Americans, but not.
First episode, Professor Plumcut, instructional situation, they're at the museum and he's like, I've heard of a curse, but never mind.
Uh-huh.
That's the beginning. And maybe like Wilson getting attacked by a dog or something.
In the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
Pekingese.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to set that up. Yeah, him having to deal with dogs. And
Like bad, like being attacked by a gang of dogs.
Maybe that's the
mauled.
first. That's like the first 10 minutes. It's just like a brutal dog attack.
oh no, here they come again!
Oh no!
Gotta
not
drop
these
off
guys.
this package at the junkyard. Shouldn't be a big problem. I'll be home by 5. Oh
Doberman pinchers! Oh no!
Another Shaggy Dog story.
He's running down the street, like scratching his neck.
Just bleeding.
no! Like torn pants, torn pant
Torn
legs.
pant leg, yeah, shredded to the
Bleeding,
pant leg.
scratched so much he's bleeding.
The mill must go through.
Moochie.
Moochie. It is time for us to rate this film using our unique, specialized grading system. Robert, what's our scale for tonight?
I had drawn a blank. I could not come up with one.
Oh, we should do like
We'll take it to the brain trust here.
Missile interceptors. Red stars.
do ancient curses.
There you go.
Open windows.
Open windows.
Yeah, when they're escaping the house, they go out through a window too. There's like always, there's a lot of open windows. But yeah, I love ancient curses or
ancient curses. I think that's good. Ancient curses.
Ancient curses. All right.
Okay. On a scale of 1 to 5, ancient curses. What are we giving the plot and writing of this movie? I'm going to start with Michael.
This one's really hard for me because I think the plot is great. The writing is not as great for me because, I mean, we've talked about just like everybody just ripping on poor Wilby. And then the mom is underserved really bad, I think. So, and I don't know, I'm going to be a little harsh on this one because the premise I think is great. I love the spy stuff. I love the dog stuff, but the writing itself is not creative. I'm going to give it a 3.
Okay. Wow. I'm surprised by that.
Yeah. It's
same.
Yeah.
We're going to go to Robert. What do you give it?
Yeah, I think Michael's right. I think the character development is just not there. Like, and they whiff on it. But I'm going to go higher than 3 because the third act, and as Andy points out, somebody made a decision that we need something here, and the third act pushed it up a notch. So I'm gonna give it a 4.
I agree with you. I think I just love the plot so much. I mean, I thought about giving it a 5 because I thought the plot was so good, but you're right. The writing, there are moments of real weakness there, and yeah, some of the characters. But I just, as far as I feel like it's better than The Absent-Minded Professor. I don't know, in some ways, as in that way of like the plot being tight.
Yeah,
give it a 4. And we'll go to Andy and see how many ancient curses he's going to give it.
You know, this might be the first time this has ever happened, but I think I'm going to go higher than Michael on one of these, and I'm going to give it a 4 as well.
All right.
I just like you guys said, there was enough there that I thought it was solid. There are problems, but I don't think they're enough for me to pull it down to a 3. I guess ideally for me it'd be a 3.5.
Yeah,
but
I would agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I'm going to round up and go to 4.
I'm shocked, Michael. We're going to stay with you because I'm just so shocked. We're going to go to casting and acting. How many ancient curses are you going to give that?
For this one, the problem is for like everyone, I'm like at a 0.5. So for this one to make up for my rounding down for 3, I'm going to round up and I'm going to give it a 5 because this movie is full of people I really enjoy. And like, even when I didn't enjoy what they were necessarily doing, I mean, it was all in the script. So they were doing, I mean, what was written really well. And I mean, Fred MacMurray plays what is not a massive role, even though he's supposed to be like the main guy it acts like. I mean, he kind of eats up he embodies Wilsonness. And Tommy Kirk, it comes on Tommy Kirk. Like Tommy Kirk and Moochie to me are so much fun. So I'll give it a 5.
Yeah. All right, we'll throw it to Robert. What do you give it?
Well, we talked about it earlier. The dog acting was really superior in this movie. And like you said, I mean, Sam, I mean, I didn't realize, I guess I didn't take in the scope of Sam dragging dead weight out of the water. But Tommy's great in it. I love Tommy Kirk. This is like a nice even keel Moochie. He's not, he gives it when he needs it, but doesn't
best Moochie.
Isn't pedal to the metal Moochie.
Right.
So I'm going to go with a 5 too, because I liked, even though the character development's kind of weak, but I thought the actors did a great job with it. So,
right. Andy, throw it to you.
I thought everybody did a very good job. Just all the same things you guys have said. I think Fred MacMurray, it's tough for me to separate him from the character. Yeah, I'm struggling with that, and I think because of that, it's pulling it down to a 4 for me. And Buzz was a little stiff, but
the band leader was stiff.
The band leader was stiff. I mean, if I was doing it purely based on the band leader,
It's
it'd
a
be
Paul
Wooly.
Revere.
Yeah, it's a Paul Revere. But so I'm going to go with a 4. A 4.
I think I'll agree with you. You know, I would put it somewhere in the neighborhood of 4.5, maybe. I agree. It's like, you know, so many actors I love and personalities. I guess I'd pull it down just a little bit because you see them do that so much through. So I just want to leave a little bit more for something really extraordinary. But I think Fred and Sam, Tommy Kirk, incredible job in this movie for sure. We'll go to production value. I'll start that one off. A little conflicted on this too because it was made on such a budget, but I'm going to give it a 4. I thought the special effects they used by and large were pretty cool. It's kind of an aim small, miss small thing. Like I said, the music did not blow me away. The score was serviceable, but nothing special. Of course, it was filmed in black and white to save money, and to make the effects look better. But I'll give it a 4 because, you know, except for a little uncanny valley stuff, it was pretty convincing. And I will throw it to Robert.
I'm going to go a little lower than 4. I think the Uncanny Valley stuff dragged it down for me. The effects were okay. Everything else was just sort of not great, but not bad. So for me, that's a middle of the road. Okay.
And we'll go to Andy.
I'm going to go with a 3. What do we call it? Ancient Curses.
Yeah.
The Tommy Kirk, the makeup they did on Tommy Kirk when he's transforming, I thought looked kind of weak. And I want to give the I don't know where this lands between the dog acting and the production value of training the dog to do certain things. I mean, there was some amazing things done within that, but I thought that was really well done. But for the most part, it was just all, you know, backlot stuff. Nothing really fantastic about any of that. 3 for me.
All right, Michael, how many Ancient Curses are you going to give it?
Yeah, it's a tough one because it's like what you said. It was definitely intentionally a budget production. I'm going to give it a 4 though, because I do roll the animal stuff into this one. I included that. And I thought, especially as we're going to see in other movies where you could easily put a person in a dog suit and have them do things, having the dog do all this stuff is really fun. So I'll give it a 4.
We didn't really talk about the dog in the car when they're driving.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's it's just him hanging out the side of the car.
I loved it with his head to the side like a dog would have his head to the side.
Just wild. I mean, it's just, they got him in there and somebody's hands on the wheel or the dog's hands on the wheel. They did it different ways.
Yeah, Paul's on the wheel. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. How that he would come up with that. All right. Entertainment value. Robert, what you got?
I haven't seen it. I saw this movie like on the Disney Channel a long time ago, and I haven't seen it since. But I'm definitely going to watch it again, and I know my kids are going to want to watch it because they usually watch the movies we review before they listen to the podcast. So I'm going to go with a 4 on that one because, I mean, I had a good time. I enjoyed it.
I'm going to go up. I'm going to go to a 5 because I think this is something I would put on in a lot of situations. You know, you put it on in the background. I just always have enjoyed this movie. And this is up there in my top few Disney movies of just ones that I enjoy revisiting. Low stakes, but really enjoyable. You know, is it the best Disney film? No, but I really like watching it. It's very entertaining to me. Michael.
I'm going to give it a very high 4. Although I agree with everything you say, Jeff. Like, this is one that I've always really enjoyed and something I would put on just to have. I think it could probably have been a little leaner and meaner, maybe. But it doesn't really get bogged down and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoy it. I think it's a really fun thing, and it's clear why it was such a big success. But I'll keep a little of my powder dry and give it a very high 4.
Okay, we'll end with Andy. How many Ancient Curses are you going to give it?
I mentioned at the top of the show that I enjoyed this movie, and I'm going to give it a 4 to reflect that. This is one that I actually would go back and rewatch. I think it was that good of a movie. I would definitely let my kids watch it, and I think they would. I think everyone would, and anyone would find this movie entertaining. I can't think of anything, even though with all the problems that it had, there was nothing that ever really just took me out of the movie completely and said, okay, this is one of the few that I didn't constantly check to see how much time I have left, which I think says a lot about it. Again, we've said this before, but I think the spy plot really, really helped this movie. So combined with the great premise and the great acting, and the good enough effects, that I think it all comes together and it makes for an entertaining movie. So yeah, 4 Ancient Curses.
All right, glowing. Let's put this into the computer that wore tennis shoes and see where it gets us. I think it'll be a pretty good one. Good score for this one.
Yeah, this one's jumping into some rare air here. It's climbed the ladder. Came in with a 4.00, 4 flat, which puts it squarely at number 7. Right behind Old Yeller and Horny Toads.
Okay.
Old Yeller with a 4.06. And then the Absent-Minded Professor, Flight of the Navigator, Scuzz Buckets, Swiss Family Robinson, Coconut Bombs, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and Whale Tales, which reminds me, because we had tiptoed around using Whale Tales in Freaky Friday. Or was it Spawn?
I just realized that too.
So glad we didn't do it twice.
2 different kinds of Whale Tales.
Very confusing.
And the double shots of bourbon with the Roger Rabbit is number 1.
All this makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just in front of Journey of Natty Gann. This feels right.
Yeah, it pushed it, jumped in front of Ray White's Smolders.
I love it. Yeah, that makes me feel good about whatever. I've probably inflated my scores tonight because I'm feeling bullish for this movie. But anything to get us above in that rare air, I'm happy we're there.
That's a good neighborhood. I mean, that's a good solid lineup for sure.
Yeah. Well, we have said what we have to say about this movie. What did Leonard Maltin have to say about this one?
Oh man, Leonard Maltin had a lot to say about it. I don't quite always agree with this, though. One of the things he wanted more of was he thought the dog doing human thing stuff was really funny and wished there was more of it. Which I don't know. I think we got a good amount of that.
Good amount, yeah.
Yeah.
I think if it had done more, it'd have gotten just ridiculous.
Yeah, it would have just been like, okay, yeah, we get it, He has here's a long quote I'll give. The Shaggy Dog is a curious film. By rights, it should be fast-paced, broad entertainment, but instead it takes its own sweet time, never pushing for laughs and ambling through 104 minutes of running time. There isn't even a final punchline, just to fade out. In some ways, this relaxed attitude is preferable to that of later Disney films, where things are driven home so hard as to be obnoxious. Yet on the other hand, there is an almost lethargic manner to much of the film that kills many obvious opportunities. So I don't know if I agree with that. I agree that later films are way out of hand, but I don't think it's that draggy. So,
yeah,
I don't agree either.
Maltin, he's just one of those dog jokes, I guess.
Maltin needed those dog jokes. Yeah, sometimes I don't agree, but that's fine. That's what our country is based on,
Let's go protest outside his house.
Section 32 business.
Yeah.
Well, anybody else, anything else to say about this movie before we close the book on it?
Yeah, it was fun. I'm glad we kind of it was a nice palate cleanser.
Yes.
We've had a couple of stinkers here.
Yes, I would say so.
It was the first time I'd seen it in a really long time. And I mean, it was a movie I saw a ton as a kid. So it was really fun to go back and revisit it all.
Yeah, I'm thinking sometime in the late 80s is the last time I saw it. Maybe.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So
this is a Crawford family staple, I feel like.
Definitely.
Maybe it's because of the Wilson name. Who knows? But Gentlemen, we have made it. We have navigated the movies of season 3. We've kicked footballs into orbit and fought off murderer robots.
Thank goodness.
We've committed crimes with Jiminy Cricket. Admired the fine architecture of the Garrison home. Mr. Garrison. Oh, love that Garrison home. Just a moment for that. But we've also ventured into the depths of the ocean. Into the depths of Leprechaun Caves. Done a lot. We've also gone into the depths of despair in King Arthur's court. Oh boy, did we ever. Had another Freaky Friday and learned about the gold trade and stringent laws around it. Now it is time to get the searchlights out. Pick our tuxedos up from the dry cleaners. Get your cuffs, your cufflinks, Michael.
Yeah.
Gonna head to the big season finale. Robert, what do we have in store for the finale?
Well, we like to end the season with a big blockbuster, and this one was a huge one for Disney. One that I was really excited for when it came out to see. I couldn't wait to see it. And I think pound for pound, for me, I can't think of another movie of my childhood that Disney marketed as heavy as this one. At least on the Disney Channel. I mean, I would always wait for that familiar, what's coming up next music that they would always play when they'd throw that graphic up on the screen to show the lineup for the next 3-4 hours of programming. And if they had a making of or a behind the scenes of for this movie, and they were always showing it, and I'd always hunker down and watch it because I loved the special effects they did in this movie.
A movie that taught a generation about chroma key.
Yes, very true.
And for our season finale, we're shrinking down the podcast to 3/4 inch and venturing into Wayne Szalinski's backyard for Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And I feel like, Andy, you've probably seen this one, have you?
I have seen this movie. I may have even seen this movie in the theaters. But I probably have not seen it since then. So, yeah.
A funny side note here. I almost made a mistake when I was typing this, and I put Ted Kaczynski's backyard. That's a different movie. Yeah,
Just don't go into the shed.
That's
back there.
I don't know why. I was typing real fast, and I was like, we venture into Ted Kaczynski's backyard. I was like, wait a minute, that's not right. That's Wayne Szalinski, not Ted Kaczynski.
That seems wrong somehow.
Especially since there's a Honey, We Blew Up the Kids or something.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Whew. Oh man, we just been flagged.
I am very, very excited about this to revisit this movie. It has been way too long.
Yeah,
I just think it's going to be good stuff. I think there's going to be a lot to talk about, and a lot of Michael Eisner to talk about too. Because he's all behind this one. Yeah,
this is a movie I have probably not seen in decades, but which shocks me. But this was one of the movies that was just always on rotation back in that era. Yeah. We may have even seen it a couple times in the theaters, and then it was just always, it was omnipresent back then. And so I saw it like a million times, but not in years and years.
I have this theory about it. I'm sure I'll talk about this more when we do it, but maybe it was maybe it's the last 80s movie and Home Alone is the first 90s movie, but they're on the cusp, they're at the change. Yeah. But it feels like one of the last great 80s movies,
Yeah, totally.
Well, that's going to be exciting. Tell us what you think. You can email us at info@medfieldfilm.com or find us on social media platforms at medfieldfilm. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Buddha's graphics for the pod that's great for you and me. T-O-D-D-K-N-A-P-E-R-E-K. Hey there, hi there, ho there, he's as awesome as can be. T-O-D-D-K-N-A-P-E-R-E-K. Findinggraphics.com. Findinggraphics.com. Forever let us hold their banners high, 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 high. Come along. along and sing the song and join our jamboree. Todekkerek, Binding Graphics, Binding Graphics. Todd, Nap, Rick at Binding Graphics. You'll look good at Binding Graphics. All around the world we're marching.
Upworks!
Wow. Wow.
Don't forget me, Upworks.
I didn't get the Upworks tag in on that
Yeah,
one.
where's Upworks tag? Todd's going to make you look good, though. So, for all of us here at the Medfield College Film Society, to all of you, we will be back soon for the season finale. You'll be shrunk down to the size of a toy and beyond.
You won't believe your size.
You won't. Adios.
Shaggy,
What do you want, kid?
come on home.
Oh, can't you see I'm wheeling and dealing? You can't treat me like a dog anymore. No more of that. And expect me to come running. No, sir. I'm a big bone banker. Oh, go away, kid. You bother me.
Shaggy, please.
No.
Aw, Shaggy. Please, Shaggy.
Well,
You're my friend, my own little friend. To myself, so often I've said I could never sleep without you. There at the foot of my bed, you're my friend,
Moochie!
my own
Moochie!
little friend.
Moochie!